I wish I understood this about crypto when I first got involved in the game. It's really changed the way in which my trading has been going for Forex, crypto, and everything else, guys, because there's something that really dictates how markets move, and it's not at all what you might think. When you're watching the news and waiting for that Ethereum news or positive news to drop, hoping that you're going to see a massive increase in the price, well, actually, it's dangerous stuff, and it's trying to create a situation where someone can go and take your money from you, and sadly, that is the way it is. But if we can understand how it works, guys, we can get on the right side of the money and start robbing the banks rather than just giving our money to them. So guys, looking at the Ethereum, obviously this daily chart we've seen throughout the entire 2022, and what we're seeing right now is what many people are calling building up for a breakout towards the upside. And whilst that could be the case, when we look at the macros and what's going on in the wider world outside of Ethereum and outside of Bitcoin, it still looks pretty gloomy, guys. The US potentially increasing interest rates further throughout the year. There could be more downside action, and what right now is lining up in crypto is actually getting me a bit worried because it doesn't necessarily reflect in this particular place. So guys, this is an extremely bullish pattern, right? When we have these kind of like falling wedges, ultimately the price is getting lower, it's getting more affordable, more likely that someone wants to jump in, and eventually it will break towards the upside, right? Whether it breaks towards the upside right now or whether we're going to see something like this is hanging in the balance. But I need you to stick around to the end of this video to understand what could potentially happen and how to safeguard yourself against a huge trap that many people will fall into if it plays out. What I want to focus on, guys, is these areas like this, okay? So every time we've had drop towards the downside and a big push, drop towards the downside and a big push, I want you to look at what we see in the chart in these areas. And we see a big like wick like this. And the reason for that, guys, is institutions, etc., need to drive the price down to an affordable price, or a price that they deem to be good value. Right now, Ethereum has been sat in this for quite some time. And is it good value right now? Well, yes, it's still good value if you look at all-time highs, but in the shorter term, we can probably squeeze a bit more value out of it. Because what we can see, guys, we had a push towards the downside. Notice what the bottom of this pattern is looking like, right? It's very flat. We've got a bit of consolidation moving sideways. We don't tend to see the bottom when we've got a nice flat move like this. It's far more aggressive. And the reason is it's the liquidity grab. They need to get the best value. And the only way to do that is to shake people out through fear, creating a situation where you see a big sell-off and then everyone panics and sells, drops the price really quickly, then gets bought up really quickly as well because everyone's got their big old buy orders down lower on the chart. Before we jump back to Ethereum and see exactly what's going on, I want to show you Bitcoin. Bitcoin also doing something very interesting. Now, many people are saying that Bitcoin's kind of broken out. Personally, I don't really see it. Again, we've had this sideways action, which for me shows that we are likely to see a bit more of a consolidation drop. And this could be far more aggressive than anyone really anticipates. And the reason for that, guys, is because lots of people are now diving in long. I'm seeing like some of these YouTubers, etc., cracking in trades that are like millions of dollars in value. So when they're going long on a $1 million value trade, eventually, if it comes against them, they hit a stop loss. And that $1 million trade gets turned from a buy into a sell, which can cause starting to push down. Obviously not $1 million, but if you've got hundreds of people betting millions and maybe even billions of dollars on a long position, and eventually it does push down into these areas, it will soak up stop losses and it rips towards the downside. The bottom of this pattern is sat at around $13,500, which for Bitcoin is a fall of around 27%. Bearing in mind, because altcoins have smaller market caps, they tend to react much more aggressively than Bitcoin will. So if Bitcoin takes that fall, Ethereum could well see a 30% plus decline in value, which if you're not over leveraged is fine. Potentially is going to provide you with a good buying opportunity. Now, if we look into the US 30, which is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, so it's the top companies in the States, you can see that we've actually had a push towards the downside and then broken out quite aggressively towards the upside. Potentially, we'll see the US 30 continue up to around this level and then maybe come with a cool off. And if that happens, then Bitcoin will be doing exactly the same. Bitcoin and Ethereum have been struggling against a rampaging US dollar. This is the DXY, or the US dollar index on the daily. And you can see that it's just been absolutely going crazy. We've been getting wider and wider and wider, and eventually that does tend to mean that we're going to see some sort of a break up or down. Right now, though, on the DXY, we can actually see something else. We have got this support line coming up. I don't think it's quite ready to break towards the downside because, again, we want to see big spikes indicating that we're going to see a change in direction. And actually, we have seen this sort of spike here, but it hasn't really piled in afterwards. I think we could see a further push on the DXY and eventually a cool off. So if this scenario plays out for Bitcoin, then we're going to be looking at maybe something like this. So this would be a scenario in which Bitcoin would aggressively fall. And actually, because of where this trend line is lying, it's actually pretty soon that we're going to be able to see whether or not this is going to happen. If it breaks below this level of around $18,300, I think it's going to be curtains in the short term for Bitcoin and everyone who's gone in on like multi-million-dollar long positions that they probably can't afford the leverage on. So jumping back to Ethereum, what does this mean for us? Well, obviously we've got this falling wedge pattern. If we look into this within the pattern here, guys, we've got a falling sort of resistance line, okay? Starting to move across. And what we see here is like a pullback into a sell zone. I want you to notice what happens every time we get back into this red box, right? This red box is red because I know if it gets in there and I see the right confirmations, then I need to sell it rather than long it. Previously, it was a line of support and then it's been flipped into resistance. Now, when we have it pushed towards the downside like this, people are getting excited because they're looking that this is going to continue and push higher. Realistically, guys, I think what we're likely to see is a push into this area and a resistance to form here. Now, if Bitcoin falls, as I said, around 37%, then I can see Ethereum returning into this zone down here. Now, remember I said Bitcoin would likely fall 27% if it was to break towards the downside, and we would see a 30% plus move from Ethereum, which would bring us back down into this green box, which, as you can see, is green because it's a buy box, around 30% plus. Potentially, you could see even lower than that, maybe breaking even beyond these lows here, which is obviously very interesting to see. However, there is one thing that I want you to be very cautious of doing. Now, remember, the aim of the game, what the big banks are trying to do is manipulate emotion. How do you manipulate emotion? Well, many people are starting to really think that crypto is going to move towards the upside right now. People are thinking that the bull market is upon us, and that is getting people too excited. What that will then result in, potentially, if we have a break towards the upside, is a ton of people diving into the market. We get a ton of people, and then guess what? This is a squeeze. And if it does this, I think we could then return back into a green zone down here, maybe even lower, and then we'll see our bull market play out. Actually, in the shorter term, this is a more preferable move for Ethereum, crypto in general, if we actually take a drop sooner rather than later, because it could indicate the blow off top coming for the US dollar and the crypto market bottoming out more quickly than not. And the reason I want you to be very careful, guys, is yes, get confirmation here. Yes, enter for longs if it suits your analysis and you're getting support, bouncing here a couple of times, getting a nice reversal, but always be using your stop loss, right? Using 1% risk, 3% reward. And I understand, guys, you've got like $100 account, you're risking like $1 to make $3. Obviously, I get it, that's probably not the most exciting thought in your head, but they're funded accounts, guys. Go and get a funded account, get like a $10,000 account on myforexfunds.com. Not associated with it, but you can get a $10,000 account to trade with, and it costs you about $80. Or you can get like a $100,000 account for like $400 or something like that. And I'm not sure exactly, but you can get in and use someone else's money to be able to risk 1%. 1% of $100,000 is obviously $1,000. Make $3,000, but lo and behold, you're not risking that 1% of your money. You're risking 1% of someone else's to make $3,000 of your money. Makes perfect sense in my opinion. But if we're going long here, guys, using stop losses, because I think that we would probably get to this area here. This was a clear area of resistance. If we got into here, we could well see an aggressive sell-off and a push down, and that would then create havoc in the market. Remember, we're looking for emotion. We're looking for crazy emotion. Right now, it's pretty stagnant. People don't really care what's going on in crypto. Many people are just holding crypto right now. To get rid of the people who are like hanging on right now, the diehards, you have to really mix it up and throw some crazy moves in there. So be very cautious of what's happening in the market right now, because it's very unclear about what exactly is going to play out. And there's no rush to get involved. If you're buying Ethereum to hold Ethereum right now, personally, not a bad price, because I still see it returning to all-time highs or beyond in the next year, maybe more. But ultimately, it is a good price. I'm just saying, if you're going to be using leverage trading, be very cautious. Be using stop losses. This is a market that is unforgiving, particularly when it's like this. When you get back up into a bull run, where you get to see stuff like this, anyone can pretty much dive in here and call themselves a crypto expert, right? Because they're making money here. It's harder to make money when we're getting this chop like this and huge other things going on in the world. The world is really changing right now. There's huge things that have happened off the back of COVID. There's stuff happening in Asia. The whole world is kind of rejigging itself right now. It's a very testing time for Forex, for crypto, for everything. Do not use more money than you can afford to lose. Personally, if we can get down to this green box again, then it's a good buying opportunity in my opinion. This is not financial advice, it's just what I do, and I'm looking for opportunities. So in terms of confirmations of what I would like to see in order to be able to make trades, this is a 4-hour chart for Ethereum. You can see we've got this red sell box here. If we're getting back up into here and we're seeing multiple wicks coming up higher and then a heavy push towards the downside, then I'm going to look to go short. Then I will be looking to take a short trade down towards $1,000. What we really need to see, if we're going to be even talking about going long in a position like this, bearing in mind if you go long here, guys, you need to have a stop loss that's kind of pretty much under down here. Well, you need to be thinking about break and retest strategy, which would mean we would need to push beyond this and come back and retest this red zone. I'm not saying like this and come back in and then go. I'm saying it needs to come back in, and likely it will come back in multiple times, and then this would be my entry before I'm pushing towards the upside. Notice this is a 4-hour chart. This could take days to play out. This is why we need to be patient. Using TradingView is excellent. If you right click where you want to know what's going on, I can just click add alert, and then when it crosses that line, I'm going to get a notification on my phone, a notification on my computer, and I can go and make a decision. I can go into the market, I can leave alerts on the buy and the low, and then it's just going to tell me when it's in the right position to be doing something that I want to do. Right now you can see it's just trading sideways. This is a dangerous place to be trading, guys, and you can see why. Yes, if you get in here and you sell here, you're going to be happy, but there's all this chop in between. It's easy to look back on hindsight, but you know, it's very difficult to know as it goes through this because it's chop, it's indecision. There's indecision in the market. There's definitely going to be indecision in me if there's indecision in the market, because the market doesn't know where it's going. So how do I even know where the market's going if it's not going to tell me? Okay, play it safe, guys. Hope you enjoyed that slightly longer than normal update. If you want to get involved more in day trading and you want to know more about updates and things as they come along, you can get involved in my Telegram group. It's linked down below in the description. Absolutely free to join. Going to be tons of benefits for being in that group coming up. Hope you enjoyed the video today, guys. If you did, please smash the thumbs up button. Helps me out more than you know, especially in this difficult and dark time in the world of crypto when no one wants to view YouTube videos. And if you're new to the channel, you want to learn more about Ethereum, Bitcoin, and other cryptos, especially moving into the bull run, then subscribe and I'll keep you up to date as best as I can. Enjoy, guys. See you soon. Bye.